Hello, students. I hope that you guys are well today. Oops, I'm sorry that I could not be here in person, but I wanted to make sure that you got your lesson for today anyway. I should be back tomorrow. I just wanted to make sure that I planned for not feeling great with side effects from the COVID vaccine. But I will be fine, so I'll be back soon. So today I am going to teach you two very, very important things. You are going to be researching your research topic today. If you were not here last week, then I'll get there. But if you were here last week, or maybe this week if you're Blue Group, basically after we took the argument quiz, you had to start looking through a bunch of argument topics and pick your favorite one that interested you the most. And then once you chose a topic, it's really time to start getting into your research, finding your evidence, and actually starting to formulate an argument. So you won't really know how to do that until you know how to research and actually find good sources. Like, what do I type into Google? How do I find these articles? How do I find good sources? And how do I know if it's a good source? How do I know if I can trust my source, which is the word credible, which I'll teach you today. So I'm going to teach you first how to research, and then how to know if your source is credible or trustworthy, so that while you're looking for evidence while I'm gone, you'll be able to know that it is the right kind of evidence. Okay. So the very first thing I'm going to show you is how do you research? What do you type into the Google search bar? This is what I do, and it's worked very well, and I've written many research papers in my day, so this is what I always do. The very first thing I do is I brainstorm a list of key terms, words, and phrases that have to do with my research topic. And since I have done the competitive sports for kids research topic so much with you guys already, I'm just going to stick with that example and use that for my research topic for today as an example of how to research. So if I was writing a research paper and trying to find evidence for the topic of competitive sports for kids, then these are some of the words that I could maybe brainstorm trying to put into my search results. So I said kids, teens, sports, obviously play. I said all three of these words, competitive, compete, and competition, because, a search result for one may bring up something new that the other one didn't have. Risks, benefits, school, teams, mental, physical health, exercise. I could have gone a lot more. I just ran out of room in this box, but the list goes on and on. Any words that have to do with your topic are words that can help you use key terms in your Google search to find new words. So I'll try this for you guys really quick. Hopefully I have enough time to record everything. I have 15% battery. So let's see. One of my options was, so I'll just do kids in competitive sports. That's my first thing. Great. Cool. And as I can see, a lot of this stuff already comes up right away. That's awesome. And then if you'll see, if I change it to, I don't know, teens compete on school teams. Let's see what I said. Competes. Oh, see, look, yeah, I got some new ones here. Yeah, I got some new links that I didn't before. So that's kind of the benefit of having this big list of words here and being able to know that you can search different combinations, test out different combinations of those words so that you can get as many different searches as possible, because you'd be amazed how one word of your search changes the results of your whole entire search. So that's one way that you can research. The next piece of advice I'm going to give you is, I kind of just showed you this a little bit, but like using those words and just trying different combinations of them. So some examples that you could put into the Google search bar is kids benefit competitive sports. Oh, I didn't put a plus sign there. You know what I mean? Benefits, teens, physical, mental health, kids, benefits, school, sports, teens, competition, sports, exercise. You get the point. These are different types of combinations and orders of these words that you can type into the Google search bar, and you will get different results. You'll be surprised at the new results that come up, possibly, to find more evidence. You can also just search your question into the Google search bar. Should kids play competitive sports? You can just do that. And this is one of my best pieces of advice. If you are, especially if you're looking for something specific, like you want a statistic, you want an expert opinion, you want pros or cons or whatever, you can just type that in after your search. So you could say benefits of teens, physical, mental health, expert opinion. Benefits of teens' physical mental health statistics. Teens competitive sports exercise articles. Like, you can find studies, case studies, experiments, whatever you want. You could find that just by searching that word with the rest of your search. So that is a really, really helpful tip that I have told kids for years, and it really helps them find evidence a lot quicker than they would have. Last but not least, I said that here is another way that you can, if you're still not having luck or you can't find the piece of evidence that you need, or you're just you've hit a wall and you can't find any good news sources, you can try using a synonym for a different word in your search, and you might get your result from that. So like, I kind of already showed you this, but instead of saying competitive sports for teens, I could try competitive sports for kids instead. Instead of benefits for competitive sports for kids, I could say pros of competitive sports for kids. So like, just those little tiny changes and similes like that. Did I say similes? I meant synonyms. You know what I meant. Just those tiny word changes, you'll be surprised at the new results you get from that as well. I'm going to mention now that Wikipedia is unfortunately not an acceptable source because anyone in the world is able to edit that information and like change it into something incorrect. That doesn't happen too often anymore, but I'm just, as a general rule of thumb, you can find if it's a real piece of information, then you'll be able to find it somewhere else than Wikipedia. So just don't use Wikipedia. And last but not least, using Google Scholar is a great tool. All you have to do is Google Scholar, and it will take you right there. And this is a search engine within Google that it only gives you the best of the best articles. Like, it's peer-reviewed articles, which means that they're already confirmed as scientifically accurate. They're scholarly articles, and that means that they're very trustworthy and credible. So you can know if you get something from Google Scholar that you can trust it. All right, now we are going to go on to credibility. And this is the second part of the lesson, which tells you not only how to research, but also how do you know when you found something that you can trust, and how do you know when you can't trust something? So here are a couple ways to tell if something is credible. Well, first of all, I'll tell you what credible means. It means it's just trustworthy or reliable. And you should only use credible sources, obviously, because if you don't, then your argument suffers too. You don't have a strong argument if all of your sources can't be confirmed and backed up as truth. So you want to make sure that your argument is based in fact and credible sources. So these are the 6 questions that I'm going to give you examples of that you should ask yourself when you're looking at sources. Some of these will be answered for you. Just, like, for example, if you use Google Scholar, you'll know it's credible. If you already know that the website's trustworthy, you'll know. But these are some really good tips to know if you can trust the website or not. The first one says, do you notice any bias? That's the first one. The next one says, who is the author of the article, and what is their job title / what are their credentials? Remember, the word credibility and credentials sound similar, and that means that their credentials is like, what have they done to be an expert, or like to know what they're talking about in this topic, or, are they a real journalist? What is their job title? Are they a real doctor? That kind of thing. How recent is this article? What year was it published? That's important because we cannot use like old statistics from the 90s, because we know that those statistics will be different today. And sometimes the most recent information is the most accurate. So if our information is old and not recent enough, then that is not going to be the most credible evidence, because it's not the most recent. So it's not giving you the whole picture. Does the website look well put together and trustworthy? So this is always, I know that you guys are very internet savvy, and I know that you probably can tell what is sketchy-ish and what's not. But I'm going to tell you some, there are just some ways that you can tell. When you look at a website, can you tell this is really well designed? This looks presentable. This is a good layout of this website, but also, like, are there sketchy ads in the corner, or maybe there's like typos, or do you just like not trust the links that you're seeing on the side, or does the whole thing look kind of sketchy, and is it like a blog and not actually a real newspaper? Those are the things that you can look at. Like, what is the name of the website? What does the website look like? Scroll through it and kind of just see, is it trustworthy? This one, has the article cited its evidence from its source? That is really, really important, because Just because like we're citing this source, that article also has to cite their sources, because we have to know that they're citing their sources and that we can trust their information too. And if they cite their sources and they show us where it's from, then that we can tell that that's credible. So we want to see that they are actually not plagiarizing either. And then last but not least, does the website link end in .org, .gov, or .edu? That doesn't mean that .com isn't credible. There are some websites that are credible that are .com, but .org means it's an organization, .gov means it's government, and .edu means it's an educational institution. So we know that those ones can be trusted and that they're giving us credible information. Okay, so let me just show you a couple quick examples here. So I didn't find an exact article for bias, but I thought this was a really, really cool chart, and they make one of these every single year. So this is called a media bias chart, and it's, maybe it's not exactly perfect, but it gets the general idea of where all of these different media outlets and media stations fall on the bias spectrum. Got only 5 minutes left. I think I'm going to pause really quick so I do not lose my power. Okay, so anyway, this chart explains where all of the news outlets that we are familiar with, like the big names, you can see probably some that you're familiar with, like CNN's on there, AP's on there, New York Post, Fox News is on there. You guys can see a lot of these. This kind of gives a little bit of an idea of where they fall on the bias. So this down here says, like they lean to the left politically, and over here these organizations lean to the right politically. And then this shows like how much of the bias that they're showing. So it says original fact reporting, so that's the best of the best at the top. Fact reporting, mostly analysis or mix of fact reporting and analysis or high variation in reliability, which means they're not very reliable. Opinion or high variation in reliability. Selective, incomplete, unfair, persuasion, propaganda, or other issues, and then contains misleading info. So this is an issue of like, it's biased because it's misleading people. And then this is down here, contains just completely inaccurate or fabricated info, so like false. So this is kind of a chart that shows like where all these news stations see. As you can see from this chart, all news stations are biased in some way, whether that bias is leaning left, whether that bias is leaning right, whether that bias is, they're even the people who are only report, like no news station is perfect, but as we can see, the people at the top of this are the most trustworthy news stations to not give us biased information. But that's a skill that you learn over time. So I'll just trust you guys to read over, look at the source of the information and see like, am I sure that this isn't too biased where it's misleading me or it's got false info, or if it's just reporting one side of things. That's kind of what this chart is supposed to show you. And, just be aware of that, because almost every news station has some sort of guilt of bias, okay? All right, so let's look at an example of when we would example the author's credentials. So this is what you can do anytime you're looking at an article. So I found this article from the New York Times. It's from 2019, so that's pretty good. And it says, "Are youth sports too competitive?" That's the title of it. It says it's a student opinion. So at first I was like, was this written by a student? But I think it was written by a journalist, and they just interviewed the student. So this is what you should do when you're looking at articles. If there is an author, I highly suggest clicking on the author's name. This is what I always do when I'm checking sources. I want to see, like, do I trust this person? What's his deal? Does he have good credentials? Can I hear what he's going to say? So first of all, he works for the New York Times. He's a journalist. It says that he joined the Learning Network as a staff editor in 2018 after spending more than 20 years as a classroom humanities and documentary making teacher, professional developer, and curriculum designer working with students and teachers across the country. Okay, so that looks like, for me, I think that those are really good credentials, because it's saying all this stuff that he has experienced, looks like he's an expert in this field, and he's got a lot of He's got a lot of past work with this topic. So that is an example of kind of analyzing the author and asking like, okay, can we trust this person? And I think the answer is yes in this case. Now, I also just asked, is the article recent enough? So if we go back and look, you can usually tell the articles, let's go back to the article. You can usually tell the article's date published. It's usually right under the author, like right under the title. So right here, we see it was 2019, and I'd say that's definitely recent enough, especially given the topic. Not very many years ago. I trust that that is recent enough. And then it says next here, did they cite their sources in this article? Let's see, did they? Get rid of that. Did they cite their sources? This is a great example of citing their sources. So this is a statistic, obviously. Last year, over 40 million children in the United States played an organized sport. But we need to make sure, like, this link usually means that that's their citing of the source. So if we click on that, it's, okay, great. It takes us basically to the survey or to the study, ads, where they found that statistic. So yes, it looks like this article here is citing all of their sources, which is something that we really, really need to look for. Because if they're just saying statistics, but we don't know where they're from, that's a problem. See, look, he's telling us what articles he's grabbing from. He's telling us where his statistics are from, so we can trust him there as well. All right, let's look at maybe a not so trustworthy website. Let's click on this one and see. I don't know why I expanded this because I'm about to click out of it again. All right. I Googled like articles about aliens. And okay, so when we look at this website, it's called financialexpress.com. Okay, doesn't sound terrible. But like I noticed very straight off the bat that there are ads all over this article, everywhere. There's an ad here. There's an ad here. If we scroll down, you're going to see there's an ads all down the side here. All of these are like more so articles and ads. But when you go down here, this is when you see like, I don't know, like you can just tell by the way that these ads look that they're, I don't know, they just look kind of sketchy. Don't you guys agree? I think that they do. I think that you can very clearly tell, and like, look, we're just scrolling. And there's just all these random like links and ads to all these random things. I don't know. It looks like the look of the website looks fine to me, but see, look, there's 2 more ads just popped up. That like concerns me. And I didn't really look at the rest of this article, but it doesn't look like they're citing a whole lot of their sources. But the main thing that threw me off about this website was just like all of the spam, all of the like spammy looking articles or ads down here. So that is something to look for. And if you just think that the design of the website looks bad and crappy, it probably isn't trustworthy either. And as you can see, compared to this one, the New York Times, no ads at all. Maybe there's a couple ads at the bottom, but there's no ads getting in our way. It's clean. There's no like messy fonts or anything, and it looks well designed. So that's another good thing. And last but not least, I wanted to let you guys know again that if a source ends in .org, .edu, or .gov, you can trust that. So here's just one example I found quickly. Here are some like statistics and information about depression and mental health and like suicide helpline and stuff. And this is this is .gov. So this is like a government-sponsored website that has government-approved facts and like statistics about suicides and depression and everything on there. So that's just one example of trustworthy .gov sources, but there's .org and .edu as well. The last thing I wanted to remind you guys about before I showed you what you're working on today is the 4 types of evidence. And this is all going to be up on the board. So everything I went over, the sub should have, there should be like visuals up on the board to remind you guys of all this. But we also remember evidence is statistics, which are numbers, expert opinion, anecdotal evidence, which is personal story or experience, or case study / experiments / like surveys or whatever. So this is the type of evidence you should look for as you're researching your topic. All right. So what you're going to do is this is going to be in classroom for you. This is where you will do your research and organize your essay. So like, you may not finish everything today, but you want to get as much done as possible. First, you're going to, again, like I'm not going to go over all this because all of the steps are explicitly said in this document. Like each step is highlighted in yellow and it will tell you the directions underneath for everything. But basically, you're going to pick your topic. You're going to do your research for both the pros and cons side. Make sure that you do good research and find good sources. And then you're going to make up your claim. Then you're going to actually start to fill out your graphic organizer. So your claim is going to go here, and then that's when you start to come up with your 3 best reasons. So reason 1 will go here, reason 2, reason 3, and then you need evidence for each reason. So evidence, evidence, evidence. You'll just copy and paste the link for each of the pieces of evidence that you use. And then last but not least, you'll explain why that evidence is important and why does it prove your reason. So this is what you'll work on when I'm gone today. And then we'll also work on this once I'm back on Friday. So if I show up and you guys have none of this done, I'm not going to be happy. So please work when I'm away. The last thing says counterclaim and rebuttal. I haven't taught you guys counterclaim and rebuttal like in an official lesson yet. So if you want to have a go at this and try it out, you can. But you can also wait until I conference with you and teach you more about this. On Friday, I promise I will conference with you guys and see how you're doing on this, like individually, so that if you need help, individual help, you can get it. But please, please, please do the most work on this that you are able to in the class period. And just email me if you need any help. While I may not be feeling well, I can still try my best to answer questions. So don't forget to search with your keywords. Don't forget to check for credibility. Don't forget to try some different words like this in here. And last but not least, have fun filling out your pros and cons and your graphic organizer for your eventual research paper. Basically, this is going to turn into your essay, your argument essay, okay? So I hope you guys have a great day. Thanks for watching this. I know it was a lot to go over. I apologize for not being there, but I will hopefully see you tomorrow. Goodbye. Thank you. Be nice to the sub, please.